Yeah, welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. This is the Decolonizing course or class. Sorry, I just had to switch out my phones. My other one needs to charge, so I'm getting the info up. So, if this is your first time seeing me, hi. This is our fourth class. I highly recommend going to check out some of the other ones, at least the previous two before this one, if you have the space. Because today we're going to be talking about cognitive dissonance. So, I only have one slide for this. If you would like a copy of the workbook, I made all of the workbooks for all of the courses I do over here. This is something I offer at my local community college, but I'm offering it over here for free, for Fizzle. Super fun. So anyway, if you would like a copy of the workbook, just go ahead and email me at ascendingwithashleigh at gmail.com. I have done a few other courses over here on YouTube. I'm currently doing a mental health and wellness one. I have a hidden messages in media class. We did the exploring esoteric class over here as well. I think that's it. So anyway, go check those out. All right. So along with the Decolonizing course, I also have a couple playlists. All of my material over here is organized by playlist. So go scroll through it. There's a fuck ton of stuff. So yeah, okay. Cognitive dissonance and critical thinking are what we're going to be talking about today. So let me go ahead and read this. I'm just making shit up. Cognitive dissonance is when people are presented with new information that challenges or contradicts their long-held beliefs and their inability to accept the new information. So religion is a good thing to talk about. So say you are a Christian and currently in this country, Muslim folks, the Islamophobia is at all-time high as it was around 9/11 of 2001. So thinking about that is a good example of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance often is... What is the word I'm looking for? My dogs are distracting me. It's something that we are often met with, but there's a better word for that. It's something that we are... Oh my god, this is gonna drive me crazy. Introduced, maybe, is the word, I guess. It's something that happens a lot of the times when there are, any of the isms are present. Classism, racism, ableism, phobias, right? Islamophobia, xenophobia, other sorts of phobias or isms. Phobias and isms are usually where cognitive dissonance gets friction, right? So there's like some sort of information that you've held on to for a long time. You've been a Christian, you're in the church, you believe that Jesus is the only savior, whereas Muslim folks or people who practice Islam believe that Muhammad was a prophet. I think they also believe in Jesus, but Muhammad was the prophet that they center in that religion. So a cognitive dissonance is... I hope I'm not losing you with the religious. These are just examples. These are important examples, real life examples. But all that to say is cognitive dissonance is when you're presented with new information and it challenges what you believe, right? Or what you think. Now, this is something that's really dangerous, which is why I have this as a segment for this decolonizing class. Because when we're decolonizing, we are literally questioning all of our beliefs, all of the education we've received, all of the indoctrination, not just within schools, but within society, within religion, within our traditions, our things that we've, our families have carried on. Right? So maybe you're a white person who has legitimate family in the Klan, the Ku, you know what I mean, the KKK. Maybe you are a person and you have a family member who is an ICE agent right now. Or maybe you're a person with dual citizenship in Israel and you have family who has participated in the genocide of Palestinians. I'm going all in right now. We are talking, we're going straight for the hard shit right now, okay? Or maybe you're someone who has money and you go, you lose your job and you become homeless. I mean, that is, you're a lot closer to homelessness. I know I'm making people uncomfortable. I can feel it. But these are the important things that we need to address when we think about decolonizing, because these are all silos and systems within colonization that keep us divided. Okay? That was just an example, like a handful of them. Okay? It is ultimately an issue rooted in ego. Decolonizing is the ability to critically think about your beliefs and new information and allow yourself to be outside of it, instead of internalizing the information and making it a part of who you are. So that's the spiritual aspect of this as well. The ego, our society breeds ego. If you've been over here for any of my collective readings, I also do readings. I'm going to do one after this, actually. We're going to use the Yin Yang Oracle. But an ego death is a really important part of decolonizing. I believe that decolonizing is a form of healing. It's a part of shadow work, especially for those of us who do have colonial lineage, or we have family who has problematic views or behaviors. I believe that decolonizing and shadow work are the same. To a certain extent, they're one and the same, and they're also like parallel journeys. You can't really do one without the other. That's my belief. I talked a lot about that in the last week, so go check out the What is Decolonizing episode. It was like about 38 minutes, I think, or so. But I went through a lot of examples. I've been on this journey for a long time. So we're gonna gloss over critical thinking. I have an example here. A good example is religion, especially here in the United States. Oh, that's funny. I didn't capitalize the United States. Right on. Freedom of religion is a right in this country, and yet most folks have a hard time accepting people who do not practice some sort of Christianity. Okay? We can also look at any divisive categorization, such as race, class, age, generational, sexuality. There's huge conversations about men and women and Gen Z and everyone else. There's a lot of these divisive conversations. Sexuality, political alignments, and other things. So we already talked about that. I strayed away from what I wrote. Critical thinking. So critical thinking is the ability to ask more questions about information. I don't know why the cats are acting like that, but they are, so we're going to accept it. Speaking of accepting, so asking more questions about information instead of just accepting information as fact. Critical thinking is the antidote for cognitive dissonance, okay? So cognitive dissonance, you're having a conversation with a stranger and the stranger says something and your ego gets triggered because you are only able to think from your point of view. Critical thinking is when you accept that there's challenges and differences and barriers through belief systems with this other person, but that doesn't necessarily mean that person that you're having a conversation with is your fucking enemy. So you start asking them questions because you're interested and you're curious, and I think that's the main thing. Critical thinking in a relational setting, right? Whether it's at work, right? In personal stuff, relationships, families, whatever the context of the relationship. When we're having one-on-one conversations with each other and differences arises, the best thing to do is ask questions or acknowledge that, oh, I don't have that information. Like, that's not something I grew up with, right? But instead, this country, specifically the United States, and it's rippled all over the world because of colonization, because the United States has taken the framework of this very egocentric, what was the word? Ethnocentrism. I learned the word ethnocentrism in college, and it's a fancy word for supremacy, quite frankly. Ethnocentric is when you, like, center your own ethnicity. It's literally a fancy word for, because it was an academic setting. So it was really speaking about, it didn't use the language. I got my bachelor's in communication, and so we learned a lot. I've taken interpersonal in intercultural communication courses and organizational communication courses. And so we talk about all of these things, but I think that there's not really an avenue presented in those academic settings, in the very least. And I mean, I've been in enough corporate settings as well to know that the hierarchy exists, right? So the system places the hierarchy so that everybody stays in line, right? Everybody stays where they're supposed to. So any sort of deviation from where you are and what... I have a really good... Hang on, give me one sec. I have a really good word poster. So, when we're thinking about cognitive dissonance, we're really working from an unconscious space of society, which is this hierarchy. So this is not everything, but this is what this society really should have just left it on here. This is how this society moves and how it expects people to move. It keeps everybody in their place. So I'm gonna put it up close. You can pause for a sec. It is quite a large document. I couldn't even do the tip. Just the tip, right? The elite. It's not a funny joke right now with everything we're learning. But yeah, incarceration is the bottom of the barrel. And then we have all of these divisive categories that keep us at ends from each other. So what I was saying before I, ran off and got this is that anytime someone deviates from their approved setting area, and not all of these, there is definitely overlap in all of these. So we have police, military, and law here. So this is like, these are the people that police everybody else, and they serve the elite. That protect and serve is not for us, the people down here. We are the ones that need to stay in line. So when we start to think critically, and we are aware of our own bias and our own limitations within thinking about society as a whole, then we start to, it's like Jenga, we start to pull these out, and eventually this will topple. And the right people will end up incarcerated, right? Or justice will be served in some sort of way. I am an abolitionist, but I believe in justice. So anyway, critically thinking, ask more questions. Again, whether it's an interpersonal situation or, if you come across someone on social media and you're like, I've never heard of that, instead of, going to the comments and being like, you're a fucking idiot, go to Google and ask Google questions, right? Learn more about it. So I think that's the most important thing, is that in order to completely avoid cognitive dissonance and really hone in on our own decolonizing journey and healing journey as well, because a lot of the healing process is asking yourself those questions about your own situation. And there's that saying, you can only know someone as deeply as you've met yourself, or something like that. So when we start to really know ourselves, then we're not so threatened by people being different than us. In fact, then we get to a point of celebrating it, of acknowledging how awesome it is that people are, doing their own thing, right? Thinking about everyone having their own skills and their own talents and things that they like to do, and that's what we should be focused on, society and how to make up society, right? Instead of, picking something you don't really want to do but doing it for money, right? So it's a lot to digest, but cognitive dissonance in a nutshell is it's going to trigger you, it's going to threaten your beliefs, but that it just, so something I say a lot of the times is, just because I don't believe something doesn't mean that I don't believe that you believe that, right? Like, I believe that you believe whatever it is you believe, and that's cool with me. I'm cool. I'm not threatened by that because I have my own beliefs, and I really believe what I believe. So, to each their own, right? And that's where we're gonna get into a space of more flow and harmony and a better society. And it's gonna happen when all of us are really firm in who we are, right? Not just accepting narratives pushed on us by the elite, but really, really questioning why we do certain things, right? And allowing ourselves to grow from that, okay? Next week, we're going to talk about privileges. So, really tackle the cognitive dissonance before that. Next week's is called What Privileges Do I Have? And then we have a few more classes after that. 4 or 5. Okay? Have a good one. I hope this helped.